Swords about books, Ben.
Swords about books, Nate.
We've been talking for half an hour, but not recording it.
Sometimes we do that because we're friends.
Yeah. It's weird. It's a weird experience.
It is really strange to talk to you about anything other than the podcast or business related to the podcast.
Yeah.
I'd encourage you to not do that again. That was actually kind of presumptuous of you.
But unfortunately, I do have to tell you, Ben, that it finally happened. John Cena turned heel for the first time since 2003, baby!
Didn't he capitulate to the communist Chinese government?
Yeah, but that was real life, Ben.
Yeah, that's worse.
That doesn't count.
It counts and it's worse.
Yeah, it doesn't count. If anything, I respect him more.
Tell me your insults in Mandarin, John, you communist plant.
Yeah.
Not John Bierce, but John Bierce is also a communist plant. I don't know.
No, you're right. John Cena Bierce. I figured out his middle name.
JCB.
JCB. So we're here to talk about For We Are Many. I don't even think I said the name of the book or the Bobiverse Part 2.
I said, is it that Bob thing? And you said, yeah, and you just went.
Yeah, For We Are Many. For We Are Legion, We Are Bob.
Do you know the author, or are you still not going to say the author?
Did I not say the author?
No.
Oh, shit. I'm going to need to edit that in.
You need to say it now, too.
Okay, it's Dennis E. Taylor, Ben.
Thank you.
I'll edit that in. I'll put this clip from the second episode.
Nate, I do no research. Creed strikes again. Didn't look at the cover. Listening to it on Audible. No idea who writes it. I just push play every morning.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
That's how I do things. I wake up, I find that Night Nate has added an Audible book to my collection for me to read, and I go ahead and I just start reading it.
Night Nate has to make an appearance in Ben's Horror Bullshit Month. I love that concept. The Night Nate.
So Ben, what do you remember? So this episode is going out a week later, but we recorded the last episode 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So what do you remember from part 1? Knowing that this is only 3 days from when we last recorded.
Okay. I remember there were several different Bobs. So there's a Bob that was working on Earth with Homer Bob, and Homer Bob got hacked by Earth terrorists who want to kill everybody, literally everybody. And he was made to sabotage a bunch of their efforts to try to get the people from the nuclear holocaust at Earth.
I am an utter failure, and you'll be better off without me.
It looks like he may commit suicide. Suicide is badass.
Back to some kind of new planet. I think that new planet had dinosaurs. That was pretty awesome. That was my favorite part. And then the president was a dick. Hard to believe. Never seen that before in my life. And then that was kind of that story. And then there was another Bob who found love, except she wasn't that into him. He was just a friend. He got friend zoned. But then fortunately for that Bob, that guy died in time for Bob to build a body and show up to the funeral and try to seduce her again. Don't think it worked that time either.
Hey, he didn't try to seduce her. He was just like, hey, when you die, can we digitize your brain? I'm not interested in you, but maybe the digital soul of you.
Have you ever heard of Lorcana?
I've heard of Lorcan, the god who died in the Elder Scrolls universe, and Dagoth is using his heart to build a new golem to take over all of Tamriel.
I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence.
Yeah, so there's a game called Lorcana. Your daughter will probably like it one day. It's like Magic the Gathering, but with Disney. and they've tweaked the rules of the game so it's not quite as like I attack you, you attack me. It's not quite as confrontational. So my friend, mutual friend actually, came over, and somebody had given him this Lorcana starter set to play with his wife, but his wife didn't want to play it. And so he was like, do you want to figure out how to play this Disney card game with me? And I was like,
oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we figured it out, and then I went to the card store and I bought a deck. I bought the pirate deck. It was Treasure Planet and a bunch of Winnie the Pooh pirates. I like Treasure Planet. That's why I bought it. I don't like most Disney properties. It was that or Moana, so I was kind of...
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
I've never seen Moana.
He was the guy who turned John Cena heel.
Shy walked in while we were playing, and she was like, I'd rather I caught you at a strip club. She was like, this is disgusting. And I was like, okay, well, hang on a second, because
I got you a deck.
No, she would never play. I was like, well, hang on a second, because watch this. Wendy Darling kills Elsa. And then, yeah, Jason had to take his card out. So anyway, the reason I'm talking about Lorcana is because while I was at the card store, I met a guy who reminds me very much of Bob. He had a lot of opinions about Lorcana, and he was telling me like all the stuff I should know about it. And I was like, look, I'm a childless adult man buying a Lorcana deck. You look like a childless adult man who knows a lot about Lorcana decks. This shouldn't happen. This interaction, we just shouldn't be having it.
Look,
I can't pick
I'm
on
already
you.
Ashamed enough.
Yeah, I can't pick on you because of what I'm doing. But can we just pretend we don't exist? Like, can we just? He's like, do you want sleeves with that? And I'm like, no, I'm not sleeving this deck.
I would like a case specifically for it.
I'm going to riffle shuffle these cards in protest. No, sir. I feel like I need to, I feel like I'm at the store buying like feminine products or something where you need to like.
Oh, I'm less embarrassed by that because
well, you're a doctor. That's you.
Yeah, it's also like I've got a girlfriend or wife.
Yeah, women live in my house. Sorry.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's right. Do women live in your house? That's right. Suck my dick.
I'm not quite there. I still need to find like 5 other things to buy that I didn't need to like hide it in my cart till I get to the self-checkout, and then God knows that's the one that's not going to weigh right when you put it in the self-checkout. And so yeah, I'm sitting there buying this Lorcana deck, and I'm like, I should have wedged this between 2 commander decks. I should have just been like, yeah, I'll take this and this, and then Lorcana.
Whoa, how did that get in?
Shut up,
crazy.
Shut up, Bob. Shut the fuck up, Bob. I also play Lorcana. So anyway, that was an experience that reminded me of this book. Anyway, then
I remember being ashamed of buying condoms at first, and now it's like, yeah, I have sex.
Yeah.
What of it? You want to try and embarrass me for having sex? Yeah, that's right. Fuck you.
I'll tell you what, that's one where I'm sorry for local sex stores, but that's one where you got to buy online. If you're buying any kind of adult product, that's yeah. Anyway, what else do I remember? God. There was a Sky God Bob.
Yeah.
Sky God Bob tried to help an evolving species of humanoids. But he wasn't very good at it. He kept getting them killed. He kept moving them around. They eventually asked him to please leave.
Yeah, they asked their god, "We don't want you anymore, God. Can you leave?"
And then he came back with a body
and pretended to live amongst them.
Hey, I live here now. And then he didn't like the guy's wife, and then she mysteriously died, and now he and that guy can just hang out all the time, play Lorcana.
Delton Lorcana, yeah. Can you fucking imagine introducing Disney to a primitive society?
I think we're gonna if we ever find another one. I'm pretty sure we show up into rural villages in the Amazon with a case of Coca-Cola, a pair of blue jeans, and a box set of all the Marvel movies. Welcome to society, motherfuckers.
That would blow their fucking mind. They would think we have flying suits and we can turn into Hulks and shit.
Yeah, we do. Don't fuck with us. What resources you got? What you got? You got any cures for stuff?
We need you to sign over 50% of your mineral rights.
Many months later.
Yeah, so Bob. That's what it's like doing a fucking book podcast in 2025, man. Did you listen to your fucking Luigi rant in the last episode?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, you didn't make it that far?
No, because then you said I can record, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll
Okay.
go record.
I think you'll enjoy what I did with that, but like, this is what it's like. Every episode now, there's like 30 minutes we have to just edit out.
because there's some weird political machination happening. It's only been 2 months, 1.5 month actually.
3 weeks later.
Well, this is what he said he was going to do day one. Well, he also said he'd lower grocery prices. So I'm still waiting on that.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Anyway, Bob, Ben.
Please.
So I think you got the highlights. There's also Ocean Planet, which I assume will be important in a different book, but basically boiled down to we settled it.
Yeah, I forgot everything about Ocean Planet except seaweed mats and octopuses with really long arms.
Yeah. So now we've got 4 more story threads, Ben.
Jesus Christ. Threads.
We've got Clown Car Planet. We've got Bob Command, Part 2. We've got The Others, Part 2. And we've got The War Against Medeiros.
Bob Command, Part 2.
All right. We've talked for like an hour, and most of it has not been about.
We've talked for 24 minutes.
I'm counting the half hour of unrecorded time.
Yeah.
All right. So much later in Bob Command, they're talking about Henry Roberts, the Australian probe they found in the first book that I totally forgot about. And he had gone like a little crazy because he didn't have a VR environment, so he was basically just sensory deprivation the probe. And so the Bob that found him put him in a VR environment, and they did, I assume, some sort of like therapy, even though you're Bob, what do you know about therapy? I honestly did not remember that. I thought they had to mercy kill that guy because he was just insane. But no, they rehabilitated him. And then they had him join the Bobiverse, which is like a forum that they have now where they all just hang out. They're playing baseball now, Ben. I like to imagine it's like Twilight baseball, but a little less funny because they don't use superpowers.
And do they still have Muse playing in the background?
I imagine that they did.
Nice.
In fact, if this ever becomes a movie, and it won't, it needs to have Muse. It needs to be a throwback to that. And that guy then loaded himself into a forum full of all the same guy who all look like the same guy. And that's weird. Also, they talk about how Linus, who I don't remember, found Clown Car Planet, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then Bill is talking about how he developed an android, which has already shown up in other stories. He starts out as like a moose because it's a quadruped, and he could name it Bullwinkle because, of course, he can just reference things. And at first, it needs like drones to help stabilize it and pick it up if it falls. But eventually, he develops it all the way up to like a gross-looking mannequin thing, I imagine, with a working dongle. And then original Bob will work on it, and they'll make a full-on android. Then they're talking about how they're going to go kick Medeiros' ass. I'll get into that in a bit when we talk about that thread. But they're building a bunch of bombs because Butterworth gave them. Remember Butterworth and his amazing name gave them the secret of fission bombs. So we're gonna make some fission bombs.
Okay.
And then the main Bob is just trying to terraform Ragnarok by he's crashing an asteroid into it made of ice, and then he's gonna heat it up in a certain way to create rain and yada 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 yada. This is like several chapters that I'm condensing for you. And then they play baseball, and he wonders if the tree of Bobs that came from the Riker tree, as we're calling it, apparently, um, if those Bobs are a little more antisocial than your regular Bob. Um, and then they're talking about Bender, yes, named after the Futurama Bender, who I guess was in the first book and disappeared after he found something, and I don't know what that was, and I assumed it was the others, but I don't know. But maybe they'll find him. But that's all they mention. They mention him here in the second book about a guy in the first book, which is a book I read 2 years ago. And maybe they'll resolve that in the third book, which is a book I probably won't read until next year.
Fun.
And that's the end of Bob Command, Ben. It's mostly stuff that happens in the background to fuel other stories. But I gave it its own section because I didn't know where else to put it.
Okay. Well, then let's do the others part 2.
All right. So, if you recall, and you might, one of the Bobs, who was named Mario, because of course he was, made a bunch of Bobs that were named after the Seven Dwarfs for some reason. And he sent them all to nearby star systems because we're trying to find the others. Because all we're doing right now is we're following their path of destruction. One of them, who is bashful, he comes up on a system that has a lot of radio interference. And when he builds some stealth probes, because that's what we have now, we have stealth probes. And they don't really give out a whole lot of emissions. I think he just like launches them and their inertia is just going to carry them through the system. So he fires them through the system, and then he's going to go the long way around and meet them on the other end in a few weeks. And there's a lot of electromagnetic interference. There's a planet that's like made or at least coated entirely of metal. And there is an incomplete Dyson sphere built around the sun of this system. So we found the others. Pretty sure this is their home system, because it's not in their nature to build shit. They usually just grab all the shit they can. But this system has a livable planet.
And it's all like abandoned?
No. There's
okay.
a lot of electromagnetic interference. So there's a bunch of like activity here. So he's pretty far away from the sun of this system. He's got all these readings from the probes. And he fires a beam back to the other Bobs, and he's like, all right, well, they shouldn't be able to find me, though, because I'll just do some more observation for now. They shouldn't be able to find me. I'm all the way out here. Proximity alert! Oh, shit, they found me. But how? Did they read my radar? Wait, what the fuck? So he is it's a foot race now. They're gonna fly away, and unfortunately, they're faster than he is. And he's trying to make some corrections. He thinks that maybe he can get around them. There's a bunch of small ships, and then one thing the size of an asteroid that they're going to call the Death Asteroid, because it's not quite a Death Star, Ben. It's not that size.
You could have called it the Deathroid.
The Deathroid. that does sound better. And more mocking.
Yep.
I got 141 and 2/3 chance of.
All your base are belong to us.
So this thing has like a grid instead of a dish, Ben. So it's not stealing from Star Wars. And the grid seems to be like they're rotating the asteroid to face the grid at him at all times. So that's going to do something bad. And he got zapped. All his shit is offline, and he self-destructs.
Dark. Did he
Now
upload to the Bobnet?
I don't think he did. He might have had a backup, actually, but I don't know if we ever talk about him again. What we do is we talk about his clone that was following behind him, who was supposed to receive those signals. And he does. This is Hal. I don't know why we're naming ourselves Hal, because he wasn't like a well-liked computer, you know?
He was in the second one.
I did not see the second one, Ben.
Yeah, it's also a book, but they also
don't patronize me. I'm a bookman, Ben.
No, they find out that the reason Hal went crazy was because he was asked or told by the mission control that he had to lie, and the AI was not supposed to lie. It was not programmed to lie, and that kicked off a chain of like bad decisions that led to his, killing everybody.
He didn't kill everyone.
No, the one guy lived to go through the jellyfish maze and meet his old self and become the god of Europa. I don't really know what happened.
He became Ric Flair, is what we're saying, because Ric Flair uses that music to come out. So that's my headcanon.
Very sad. He should not be allowed to use that music.
Well, he is. It's public domain, Ben. Woo!
Is he still going out places?
No, because he finally advertised his final match a few years ago and nearly died, I think, of dehydration at several points in the match. And also it was a tag team match because Ric Flair couldn't do a full match on his own. And I think even Ric Flair decided, like, I can't do this anymore. I will die.
Yeah.
I will die if I attempt this.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. Yet no one wants to watch you die in the middle of the ring, Rick. I would imagine even people that don't like you would kind of find that like a big bummer.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like, I don't feel one way or the other about him, but yeah, I usually don't tune in to a program to watch people die.
Yeah. So Hal, he, let me see. Let me think about this. Oh yeah. So a patch went out on upgrading some systems, so their SUDAR is upgraded, which is like, I guess, radar in space, but it's like light speed or sub-light speed. So he thinks that maybe Bashful was tracked by his signals. He also fires off some drones, and he signals back to Mario, like, we need to like booby trap the system that we came from in case they trace it back to you. He waits 2 weeks. Oh, okay, maybe I conflated the two. Maybe Bashful didn't get any information. He fired off his probes, and then they found him, and he died. But whatever it was, Bashful did kind of the same thing. He found out about the Dyson Sphere, the metal planet. And then he waited for the drones in a different area, right? Like he theorized that they're tracking the drones like radio waves. So as soon as the drones transmit information to him, and sure enough, as soon as the transmission happens, they go after the drones. He detonates the drones, but they're able to trace it to where he is. So it's now another chase. But this time, he has better SUDAR than they do, but they're still faster. So the idea is he can change his vector, and it takes them about half an hour in real time to respond to that. So even though they're faster, he can kind of try to juke them. But he starts training them like to anticipate where he's going to go, and after he does that a few times, he jukes them and he goes a different way, and then he shuts off all of his power and everything so that there's no active systems. They would have to it would be really hard for them to find him actively, and there's so much space that and as every moment goes by, there is more and more space that he could be in that they're unlikely to find him, but he's got to know. He's got to know if they can see his radio waves. So he sends out a transmission using radio waves, and sure enough, they find him immediately. And this time he gets got. He gets zapped, and he gets blown up, and he self-destructs. But he had a backup copy because he is going to go back. So they all have a moot, the Bob moot.
A moot is a meeting of Skyrim's Jarls, wherein one of the Jarls is elected to take up the office of High King or Queen. It's usually held when the previous king or queen can't get laid and dies without heirs. There, I explained it.
And the Bobs are talking about that big weapon. And apparently it uses high energy gamma rays that kill all organic life on a planet. So what the others do, it's theorized, is they get a bunch of those asteroids, they surround your planet, and then they just zap all life to death all at once. Then they start harvesting everything.
Well, don't you want some of the life?
They're going to take it back and preserve it and eat it.
They're literally just hunting?
They're hunting everything. Organic life, material, technology, everything on a planet that can be harvested is harvested.
Well, yeah, but you're destroying the ecosystem too?
Yes, they're absolutely destroying everything on the planet.
Okay.
There is nothing left when they are done. They pick it completely clean.
Slash and burn spacefaring. Send a message to asterisk star percent sign Musk. Tell him his dad needs to get on this.
So basically, oh my god, that is their name. God damn it. So they think they have a countermeasure for surviving a zap from the gamma weapon.
Yeah, it's the Hulk. Hulk
yes. Bob. Yeah, basically. No, they have like different layers of armor, and they also think that the asteroids themselves, they only fire one blast, it looks like.
Are the Bobs organic?
No. But it disrupts all ship systems. It kills your power. It's like an EMP blast. They're going to go back, and they're going to get some more information on these guys. And Hal's going to be the one that does it because he wants revenge for being killed earlier. Also, the Bobs are looking at FTL. They don't quite have FTL down yet. But they also have schematics from Buttersworth on battle cruisers, or how they might build battle cruisers. So they're starting to build battle cruisers. And Hal goes back in. This time he has some decoy probes that have the new shielding. He sends them in. Death Asteroid comes in, zaps them, and it survived, and then it blew itself up. he didn't want them to know that it survived, if at all possible. He didn't want them to get any of their tech. And then they also got some scans of the asteroid. A lot of the asteroid is like living space for some reason. Like, it's not just a big weapon. There's a lot of things living on there. Then they see that the others have gone to another system. They're going to go harvest another system. The Bobs are going to attempt first contact. So they've sent a probe in directly in the path of where these guys are going to be. They brought like 10 asteroids, a ton of ships, and like gigantic hulking cargo ships, presumably for all the shit they're going to raid from the system. And so, incoming transmission, Ben. Now we learn what happened to the Chinese replicant program. These guys got them because they're speaking in Mandarin, much like John Cena. See, it's all connected, Ben.
Ah, I see.
So John Cena is like, it translates, we see you, food. Your time is not yet. Move aside. The gist of it is, everything is food to them. There's no such thing as living and coexisting with other species, because why would we? You're food. Like, lions. Contrary, see, this is why we needed Disney, Ben. It's all connected. If we would have shared Disney with them, they would know they could be the Lion King without eating all the gazelle, you know?
Yeah, but there's no Disney Bobs because Disney will sue the shit out of Bob.
yeah, they would.
Well, I guess there was the dwarves. Does Disney own that? Did he name them?
I'm sure that's no, maybe that's not public domain, but Snow White is an adaptation from fairy tales.
Well, yeah, it's
before it.
definitely an adaptation,
So
but I don't know if the dwarves were named.
Well, one of them is hungry, Ben, so they're different dwarves. And that's what I'm going to say if we go to court. And my book didn't make enough money for you to sue me anyway, so
It's never stopped Disney before.
that's true. But also, Disney doesn't even probably know about this book.
They will once it gets the words about books bump.
Well, shit. Sorry. I guess.
You're ruining lives, Nate.
Yeah. I aspire to be just like the others. I'm finally there, Ben. But yeah, basically everything is food, and also they know about Sol. They know about Epsilon Eridani, where the Bobs are, because they've seen our radio signals. But they're also not in like any real hurry to get us, because like why would they? We are beneath their notice. They'll get to us when they get to us. But right now, they're gonna harvest this system and K by, and they blow up his drone. And and apparently that Dyson sphere around their sun is mostly used for like land space. And there's some sort of hive mind, because they're talking about the prime. And they don't want to divide the hive, because if there's two primes, that will lead to war.
Okay.
And the Bobs have another moot, and they theorize all this shit, and they think that maybe these guys are really driven by their biology. Oh, hi, Cat.
Yeah. He's been doing this all morning. I think he knows I'm leaving soon.
So, and more chapters later, the others have harvested that system, and they've sent out 2 other armadas to harvest other systems. Bombs aren't sure they can win a fight against these things. Right now, they think that they have one shot. They can attack the others in a sneak attack and do as much damage as possible, much like the Japanese in World War II, now that I'm thinking about it out loud. But after that, they will have awoken a giant and given it the resolve to kill them. So, like, we better really, really prepare.
Do your best, Tora Bob.
So the Bobs are going around, and first of all, apparently they think the others have hit a star system maybe once every 100 years at this point. So they've been doing this for a little while. I don't know how they came to that conclusion. I'm just going to take their word for it. They found some ecosystems near the other space. One has like a lot of life on it, but not intelligent life. But oh no, one of them has like an industrial society, like Victorian era society.
Okay,
And
you can't bump the mic. I need that. Yeah,
and
no, don't.
the
He,
others are eventually going to come here.
he's doing that cat thing where he puts his head into the thing.
And based upon the pattern, the industrial society will be second after the rich ecosystem planet. But oh no, as time goes on, this is like 7 chapters. There's not a lot of info in each chapter, but basically, it turns out they are coming to the industrial era planet. There's a Bob there already. He's like, I'm building colony ships. I'm going to get these creatures out of here, at least some of them.
Have we ever considered teaching the others about factory farming? It's the perfect blend
No,
of
they're driven by
cruelty.
their biology.
It's the perfect blend of cruelty.
No, I need to eat it now.
Don't you want to watch it suffer?
It does suffer when we shoot it with our ray gun.
No. See, this is where you guys are misconstrued. That is the end of suffering.
I don't know. I think it really fucks up their neurosystem. You know, like I think that like their suffering ends within a few minutes, but like they're gonna feel it that entire time.
What about a lifetime?
That is their lifetime. 2 minutes.
It's not about how much suffering. It's about the percentage of their life that was suffering.
I see. Well, the others don't even want to talk to us.
They went to all the trouble to learn Chinese.
Yeah, just like John Cena. So maybe they're not so bad after all. Is what you're saying.
I'm just saying, you don't learn Mandarin if you don't want to talk to somebody.
So this Bob, is cataloging as much life as possible, including the Pav, I think is what he called them. There's no such thing as monogamy here, which is probably why they had to go. God was upset. They live in polycules, Ben, of up to 8 adults.
Well, I've been told by Brigham Young that it's okay if it's just one dude and a bunch of women.
It's also okay if like third person that tricks God. You didn't. You just happen to, and then another.
Please cut that. Like, I know that's a thing that they do, and you're just repeating it, but like, I don't know. I just feel responsible for it being in the world now.
So this Bob has sent in cloaked observers to like hide in people's houses and stuff and just like watch and catalog their culture, Ben. It's not weird at all. And finally, the others arrive, and he's got to get him off the planet, and we will follow up with that in the epilogue, Ben.
Okay.
So that's the end of the others part 2. So we've got Clown Car Planet and the War Against Medeiros.
Let's just get Clown Car out of the way.
All right. Rudy? I don't know who that would be in reference to.
Probably Rudy.
Is that the movie?
Yeah.
On Rudy? All right, whatever. He finds
also,
a
lot
planet.
Of ska references to Rudy. I don't know what they're talking about, but
I don't know either because ska's a dead art form. Anyway, he's here, and there's like a weird day-night cycle on this planet because of its tilt. Apparently, there was a big, like a Cambrian explosion of life, like on Earth, but then all the branches of the life were kept instead of a big dying off. I guess, and then everything comes in weird, different colors, and everything makes the planet look like a big, colorful patchwork. Ben, and then there's these things that they decided to call the Ickies because Bob is 7. that's some sort of flying leech with multiple suckers. And they're thinking that they're going to colonize this planet using big ass domes that can keep them out. And then one of the Bobs is like, why don't we just make a drone that specifically targets and kills these parasites?
Because it's a native life form.
Yeah, fuck it. I don't care about native life forms. We already wiped out the other parasite on the Vulcan planet. So, like, fuck it. Let's do it. And now we're going to go get colonists. And that's the end of Clown Car Planet, Ben. I guess it's going to be important later, but did they spend a lot of time talking about it.
I didn't like Clown Car Planet. Okay, let's talk about the cat. Yeah, quit bumping my mic, man.
Medeiros, Ben. So he's the Brazilian. They killed him last time at the very end, and also beginning of the book, now that I think about it. There were at least 2 Medeiroses. And Madeirai? Is that the... Anyway. Last time, the Bobs went in, and they found out real quick that Medeiros had access to nuclear weapons. And they had basically high-powered space cannonballs. So it was a bit of a one-sided ass-kicking. They did manage to overwhelm him with numbers. But he also had automated defenses. So they killed him. They killed like 3 of him, and he killed like 20 of them. And his automated defenses held the system. So Bob was like, all right, we'll call it a draw.
Okay.
I guess he also had a plasma spike that he created. That's the thing. It was a short-range weapon that was better than Busters, but it's not nukes, you know? But anyway, Medeiros has cloaked missiles and cloaked nukes. They figured that out last time. They have EMP shielding because Medeiros' whole plan was to just detonate nukes and disable their systems. Don't even have to hit you directly. But didn't work, Ben. So now he's got attack drones. Wave after wave of attack drones. And they're fighting them. They're plasma spike proof. So they'd have to start firing their busters, basically the cannonballs. And then they're like, I don't think Medeiros is actively controlling this battle. He just has a bunch of pre-planned scenarios. So let's confuse them. Because they're dumb drones. So their attack groups start doing a bunch of different shit. And finally, Medeiros has to beam signals to the drones. And that's how they find his position. And they kill him, Ben. And then they just do system cleanup. They find out that this Medeiros has a different hull, like a different design variant. So they think the Brazilians launched at least 3 different Medeiroses, at least. So there's no telling how many Medeiroses there are. Also, he makes a reference to Dune by calling a thing a hunter seeker. You know that thing from Dune that was super important?
I don't know if that's from Dune.
This one was specifically a Dune reference.
Oh, okay.
Because they do mention Dune. So they win the system, and they're going to redirect some colony ships here if possible. And they also
he probably won't come back.
And they get cloaking tech from Medeiros that they start trying to engineer, which they don't in time for the battle against the others that's coming up, spoiler alert. And they also get fusion bombs. So now they got fission and fusion bombs, Ben, and that's important, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah. So now we've got one final battle with the others, Ben. I like how you said this is like a low effort episode. I took copious notes, Ben. It might be low effort for you, but I had to fucking follow like 7 different plot threads. I was not phoning this in.
So I could have done this with Beware of Chicken. I could have.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have sat for it.
Yeah, I was already my eyes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, you know what, Ben? This is what you signed up for when you got into this podcast. So
yeah, I got so many fucking cryptid books.
So we're fighting the others. We're going to defend that system that has that pre-industrial society on it, which I guess they would be industrial, right? Victorian era, they're starting to get their first factories.
Yeah, they've got the steam engine at that point.
Yeah, anyway, the shielding is a success. So they basically they assume this is just a suicide mission. All the Bobs here are like, yeah, we're gonna die defending this. And anything that isn't already cloaked is just gonna have to be a decoy because the others are just they're faster than we are. We can't beat them straight up. You gotta use trickery. They also think that maybe the others haven't run into anyone and don't have any sort of concept of space fighting because they just zap things with their death ray. So we'll just find out. So the others discharge a death ray. It doesn't work, and so battle begins. And the others have 75 ships that quickly escalate to about 4,000 different signatures as they start rearranging their ships and firing a shitload of missiles. And I could tell you, he talks about this as if it is a Star Wars space fight, where it's like, we use this strategy, then we hit him with this from the other angle, then we did this, then we did that, and they do a lot of damage. The others then show that they're capable of like lighting up the area with a massive Sudar beam, which even reveals cloaked stuff, so the cloak doesn't do as much damage as they could. And at the end of the day, the others still have 8 of their death asteroids and their cargo ships, and that's it. Bob's out of ammunition, and the others basically tells them in Mandarin, of course, that they're not food, they're pests. First, we're gonna harvest this system, all right? Like, we're already here, we gotta do that. But then we're gonna go to Earth and Epsilon. Yeah, and we're gonna kill all you guys. We need to get rid of you guys because you're annoying us. And then they go and they wipe out all life on that Victorian planet, and they harvest it. And the Bobs are like, how do we stop that? How can we even stop that? They do get like 1 million of the populace off that planet with a gas that they invented. They just shot him with the gas to put him in stasis. And then Bob had to explain to that society, like, we can settle you on this planet over here that we found that might be compatible with you, or you can go back to your dead planet now that the others have stripped it of everything. So,
I mean, and die.
yeah, you want that PTSD of like, oh, there used to be like a civilization here, and also resources and an ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to eat?
I think he did catalog some plants, but yeah. So they choose the new planet, and then one of the Bobs at Bob Command is talking with Bill about like it sounds like that Bill got the idea of maybe I can throw a planet at the others, like because he says something and Bill's like, and I get the distinct impression that the way to beat the others is not missiles, but just like, let's throw planets or asteroids at them. Just wave after wave of stellar bodies thrown at their ships. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but the book ends on the others have harvested the civilization. The others are like, they beat us in our first encounter with them. They've done nothing but curb stomp us. To be continued. And I mean, I think there's like 3 more books, but I can't imagine that the others, like, that has to resolve next book. You can't stretch that out for 5 books or for 3 more books.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's the thing I was thinking. Like, if you throw something heavy enough, fast enough, I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's nuclear fission or fusion bomb. Like,
And your death ray is designed to fire gamma rays. I don't think a big old asteroid is going to care if you irradiate it. I think it's still going to hit you.
Yeah, it'll just be radioactive now.
Yeah.
You might actually want to not do that.
Yeah. You want me to rubric this, Ben?
Yeah, go ahead and rubric it.
All right, Ben. So, mini rubric time. Content and ideas. I went with a 4.
Yeah.
It's hard. So I said that there's a lot of ideas here, and I think most of them are well developed. It's hard. This is I gave you crap about this whenever we evaluate a middle book, uh, by saying like, well, I have to read the third book to know for sure. But I'm gonna use that excuse here, Ben, and shamelessly as possible, because some of the things like the ocean planet and the clown car planet, those might be important later. They're not so much now. But I think of the story threads that were actual like beginning, middle, end. I think those were well enough developed to keep my interest. Like what was going on at Earth, what was going on at Vulcan, the others. I think that was done well enough that I could say it was developed. And then some of the other stuff like Clown Car Planet, I'm like, maybe that'll be important. But I'm gonna give it a 4.
Okay.
I would say organization a 3. It jumps around a lot. I don't do it justice because I'm not doing it chapter by chapter. I'm doing it story thread by story thread. But I could at least follow each story. Yeah, it
Was
was
this
easy
like
enough to follow up.
originally like a blog or something?
I get the impression it might have been because the first book definitely ends on like it just cuts off. Like this book at least ends on like shit, I don't know if we can beat the others. We'll have to see in the next book. But the first book was like, well, wow, we moved these people across that mountain and they have some settlements that were abandoned over here. Isn't that weird? The end. It's like, wait, hold on, what? That's your ending? So I wouldn't be surprised if this was originally like a blog or like a fan fiction thing. Because again, I get the impression this is just like I'm gonna write a space adventure on what I want to do, like what
Yeah.
I would want to be able to do. It reminds me of Spore, like the space age of Spore, like how it was conceptualized in trailers. Like, oh, you could go here and you can settle this planet, or you can terraform this planet. You can move one animal from here to another, and oh, you run into another alien race, and now you fight like a big sandbox. Is
That's
how
exactly the word
yeah.
I was going to use. Yeah, it seems very
Yeah.
sandboxy.
Yeah, it feels like what the artist or what the author wanted to do, like a sandbox.
Yeah, they're just playing with their ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Word choice, I gave it a 3, but I did subtract 1 point because it uses the word grin a lot, and I started noticing. And it started sticking out every time he grinned or used grin or grins. I'm sure there might be other examples, but grin is the one that almost always gets me because you see that a lot in fan fiction and in less professional writing where it's just the overuse of grin for some reason. I don't know why grin is the word, but that I even saw a meme on it and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm not the only one."
I haven't heard this, but I'm sure I will start noticing it.
Yeah, no, it jumped out a lot at me. So, personal preference, I gave it a 3.5. Like, I don't know if I could straight up give it a 4, but something about it is engaging to me, even though it makes me cringe every time Fox Mulder or Homer Simpson or Mario or the Seven Dwarves show up, but they're really a Bob clone.
Yeah, I'd compare I think this is your version of like the Beware of Chicken thing, because you're more into the sci-fi than I am. But this definitely sounds like the same sort of thing where like maybe it's just a little
Yeah,
too
because
much.
he was naming them Peppa
Yeah,
and
yeah. It's a little too much. It's a little too big. It's a little too off the rails. It's a little too disorganized. Too many different ideas going on, but like they're the ideas that you like.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like you're
I
walking
could see
around
that.
this Minecraft world and you like what he's built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And that's why I gave it a recommendation strength of 3. I can't give it a broad recommendation, but if you're into like a laid back sci-fi sandbox thing, if anything I said was even remotely interesting, you might pick up the first book and see.
Yeah, this is just a random thought off the top of my head that I have not developed at all, but like I do wonder if we're in maybe a new golden age of this sandbox or serialized kind of writing with audiobooks. Because like audiobooks used to be pretty inaccessible. Like I used to think like I'm thinking back in like the days where you would actually have to buy a CD or
Yeah,
a
CD
cassette.
book.
Yeah, like that was like I viewed those as almost exclusively for people with visual impairment.
Oh, my mom did it because she commuted 90 minutes both
Yeah,
ways
or
every
if
day.
you have something like that. But I think Audible makes well, they were so expensive though too.
Well, public library.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. I don't think our library had a great CD collection, but now every library has like Libby.
Right.
So yeah, I
Fucking
think
liberals. Libby. I see what you did there.
it's a library, Libby.
Yeah, you say that, but I know the truth.
That's where liberals go to get more liberal. The library.
Where's the Connie?
Don't give them any fucking ideas. There will be. Somebody's gonna start doing a nice Christian. There's gotta be a Christian audiobooks thing. That's gotta be. A thing.
You know what? And I'm okay with that as long as you're upfront that it's a Christian thing.
Yeah, but
as long as you're not trying to trick me.
No, I think
with
these things do real well in audiobook format because they are the kind of thing. I'm not going to say audiobooks aren't reading, but I will say if you're going to read a certain kind of book as an audiobook, you do have to just sort of sit down and listen. Whereas I think most people, when they're listening to audiobooks, are like washing the dishes or they're playing like a game or they're going on a walk. Like these are the audiobooks that are great for that. Small, digestible stories that interconnect and reward you for paying attention. But I think this is the sort of thing that's going to become more popular.
Time to get in on it, Ben.
Beware
of Bob.
Buddy, this is the sort of thing we were writing before. Yeah, I can't.
Well, we have to do even shorter chapters, though. We only got 10 chapters.
That would probably
like
have helped us, dude.
Yeah.
No, we conceptualized it as interlocking short stories of like 20 to 30 pages. But no, if we had done like a 5 to 10 page chapter, that would have been
there
awesome.
you go.
It really would have just split each of those short stories into 3 chapters.
But... Yeah, I'm okay with this. We need to... We'll figure it out, Ben. We'll talk later.
We'll see. But see, the thing is, though, Nate, we get back into writing now. We've made so many enemies with this fucking podcast. They're gonna start making fun of us.
They're gonna come up with their own podcast and only review our books.
I'm into it. Do it. That'd be awesome.
If you want, we can be a guest. We can tell you where we went wrong.
I'll join you. I can tell you exactly where this fucked up.
So next time when you get back, we'll do Animorphs, and then basically all of April is going to be Fire and Blood. I'm thinking that's a 3-parter just because of how goddamn long it is.
But you know what? Oh no, it's not finished, is it? There's a part 2, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. He's just gonna keep not finishing things.
God damn it, George.
He made a wish on the monkey's paw that he would be...
He'd be the greatest fantasy writer of our generation.
Exactly.
But he could never finish a series. Ay, Dios.
Yeah.
Jorge, what are you doing?
He's talking about how he's got to write the book. There's gonna be an Elden Ring movie, but he can't write that.
No, he's not fucking allowed to write the Elden Ring.
He
movie.
said I can't write it because I gotta finish Winds of Winter.
Did he say that?
Yes. Or at
Good.
least, yeah.
Good.
And it's like,
thank you, George.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I can potentially see Winds of Winter coming out.
There's no dream of spring.
No dream of spring.
The dream of spring is just a dream of spring.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no end to it. It's going to end on the like worst note possible. Everyone's fucked, and it will be like, and now I am the dead.
The only way we could conceivably get a dream of spring is if he has moved chapters he's already written into a dream of spring.
Yeah.
And
even then,
the thing is, people who have only watched the show, I think a lot of people who have only watched the show have hopped onto the finish the books bandwagon so that they can make a show of it so I don't have to read it, so that I could enjoy it. Like, the books, if you were following, a lot of these people are just too fucking young to even know this, but like, if you were following the books, I mean, Christ, I'm too young. They started in like, what, 1992?
96.
96? So I started reading it in 2004 when A Feast for Crows was like just coming out.
Yeah, I got the box set of all 5.
Yeah, and so I read all of it in high school. A Feast for Crows had just come out, and like, you do not understand. Like, you think this Winds of Winter thing is a problem. You do not understand the wait and then getting A Feast for Crows. And it's only the characters you don't give a shit about. Sansa, Brienne, Littlefinger, Theon, I think might have been in there.
And they finally he finally released Dance with Dragons.
He released it when I was in college, and I reread the whole series to read Dance with Dragons. And then in Dance with Dragons, we have some Dornish fuck who gets melted by a dragon. Didn't even need to be there. What are you doing, George? What are you doing? Like, just A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons should have been one fucking book the way you planned it from the beginning. And I heard him in an interview go like, why did I make it 7 kingdoms? Why didn't I make it 5 kingdoms? And it's like, why didn't you? Why are you asking me? Dorne shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Everything with Dorne sucks. Sorry.
You could just like, you don't have to explore every kingdom, you know? You could.
Dorne sucks. Get rid of Dorne. You already have a desert in the middle of nowhere that Dany has spent half the series walking through. That's Dorne. Call it Dorne. Be done with it. And then we've got fucking Griff, the second dragon. It's like, oh my god, like. And then Tyrion meets a dwarf girl, and it's. What are you doing? Does this need to be there?
Yes, it all needs to be there.
It's tough remembering how good those books are. Like, it's tough remembering how good that series is.
Well,
because I've watched so many fucking bullshit think pieces about how George R.R. Martin's just a cynic and he's just writing characters to criticize Lord of the Rings, and he's not. This is preview for Fire and Blood. This is what it's going to be like. I disagree.
It's going to be three episodes of this.
It's going to be 3 episodes of me just screaming at George R.R. Martin and the people who scream at George R.R. Martin and the people who like the show. And the people who don't like the show. Fuck you too. Ben out.
All right, everyone, that is a wrap. Now, last episode, I saw in the Discord that, I don't know if people didn't like it, but it was very obvious that I just cut out a previous shout out to the patrons from a previous episode and attached it to the end, which I thought was funny, but I get it. So this time around, I sat down with Ben and recorded an entirely different. Okay, you know where this is going, right?
Our Yacht Plan tier patrons who are supporting our Great Escape and the ability of this podcast to continue to remind Elon Musk that his father will never love him. So, the people allowing us to do that are Isekai Sensei Sama of the That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster podcast. That is about Japanese stuff sometimes. This is Japanese stuff. You should fit right in. You should read this book. We have Jamie, the Gravy Man of the If You Want the Gravy blog. I think there has been at least one movie made of Seishi Yokomizo's work. So you should check that out and let me know if it's any good. I don't know if it's in English. Then we have Spooky Shy, Shy with a Y, over on TikTok. TikTok, it could not be banned. They tried, they failed, they came at it and they missed. And we have John Bierce, actual author of The City That Would Eat the World, coming extremely soon as part of a new series called More Gods Than Stars. You should check it out. We will be covering it on the podcast after it comes out. So if you want to read along, you should do that. And last but not least, we have Keegan, who's given me no project to shout out. So I will simply say,
And his name is John C. Rule of 3, asshole, not 4.